Hey, this is Kat from Red Mountain Shaman, and I share shamanic wisdom through dreams, visions, nature, synchronicities, intuition, channeling, art, music, photography, and shamanic journeys. Welcome back to my channel. Before I get into today's episode, I wanted to share an interesting synchronicity I encountered. A few days after I released my last video, which talked about Yeshua and Mary having other expressions in previous epochs, such as King Arthur and Queen Guinevere, a video popped up on my feed with another channeler who received the same information. I had another video in which I shared an experience with my guides giving me a healing session and blowing golden dust over me. In this same video I found, this channeler explains what this golden dust is as explained by her angelic team. I'll put the link in the comments to this video if you're interested in seeing the similarities between what the two of us are getting. So it's just interesting that others are getting the same information that I am, but in different wording. This is how I believe we're building a bigger picture of what is happening on the planet right now. By multiple people sharing and receiving information from the spiritual realms or quantum field and sharing it or comparing notes. So in today's episode, Yeshua and Mary expound upon the concept of their multiple expressions and how their teachings were inverted or suppressed by religion created by Rome. I will add my own commentary at the end. This is what they had to say. I am Yeshua, God of old. I say God of old because I am deeply and divinely connected to the creator force that is the one true God. As I am connected to God, you and I are connected through the heart space. We are one in our connection to the divine force of God that permeates all. This, my dear friend, is true unity consciousness. This is what I taught, and this is what I continue to teach through those who hear my words. Take hold of the sword of truth, which is Excalibur, which is your voice and your connection to the divine. I come with this sword of truth that humanity might see with new eyes. Within the living of those who have incarnated bodies, there is access to disincarnate beings. People who are waiting for me to incarnate can have access to my presence now. I have returned. My followers speak my words and carry my sword of truth. These are they who truly know me and are in alignment with my frequency. As King Arthur, my queen and I led the kingdom in wisdom. As Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, we lead again in wisdom for a new age. As Osiris and Isis, we guided our people of an earlier age. This is why I tell you, I am the God of old. The Egyptian pantheon of gods is indeed the divine council within an earlier form. We taught initiations through our wisdom teachings, and our people became divinely empowered as a result. They built massive and majestic cities. They built pyramids. They had scroll upon scroll of knowledge and wisdom. As a new epoch began to come forward, the Egyptian civilization began to lose this knowledge. Humanity began to seek power through the influence of the fallen ones and the ego. The gnosis contained in the library of Alexandria was burned and lost. However, I have always been with you in some form or another. Before Egypt, I was teaching through the being known as Zarathustra. As you ask to be free of the deception of your ego, so it is. I taught that free will is inherent in all beings. The opposite of this is what is wanted by the fallen beings of the fallen ego. Persian poets have explored this universal truth and set forth my word. My word trickled down from Persia to Egypt and was later usurped by Rome. The fallen ones have long used the Roman Empire and the Vatican as ground zero for spreading lies and misinformation about me and my teachings. They have taught that there is no way to connect to spirit, but that it is through their man-made empire that one must pay to connect. Rome has set forth their plan of division through the invention of religion. They sent the ruler Herod to Jerusalem as their puppet. They still have many puppets in places of power and control to this day. But my truth will not be stilled, for I will speak to my followers as they connect to me spirit to spirit, just as you have. For the kingdom is within you, and the answers are within you. It is well known that I even came against the religious zealots of my family's religion in my day. To get to the bottom of truth and pass the spiritual initiations of advancement or evolution of the soul, one must purify their inner temple of false teachings and religions. There is so much more to universal cosmic knowledge than the confining box of religions. I learned from what is commonly known as mystery schools as I walked the earth plane and passed on this knowledge to those who would listen to Miriam and I tried to empower my followers and heal them with our wisdom and advanced capabilities. You too will continue to develop these same capabilities as you continue down the path of a seeker. Those who truly seek shall find and shall begin to remember their divinity within. The Magi came to find me because they too were seekers. Magi is the root of the word magic. Your internal magic can be used for good or evil. Do you think that the evil ones who have usurped my teachings are not aware of this magic? They most certainly are, and they have twisted and inverted it for their own nefarious will, which is control over others. When you ignore my wisdom teachings and ignore your own magic, you are more easily controlled and manipulated by those who have stolen it. This is not the time for laziness of the mind. There is a great shift of consciousness happening, and it is important to learn of me outside of what religion has turned upside down. Look deeper, my friends, and you will begin to discover just how empowered and magical you really are. My divine feminine counterpart has more to say about this. Greetings, mystical ones. I appear in my blue robes of grace, humility, and oneness with you and the Great Spirit, the grand architect of humanity and the world. When we work in tandem with this Great Spirit, we co-create the beauty that is needed to bring back heaven to earth as we enter a beautiful new epoch to end all epochs. As the darkness continues to be revealed, do not live in fear. This is merely the crumbling away of the old and final epoch that is not serving you any longer. Throughout the cycles of time, you have experienced many things and have circled around and around from ego to enlightenment. As humanity descends to the bottom of the yuga, it will see the last vestiges of the fallen ego and begin to board the train of ascension once again. There is already a noticeable shift in who is getting on the train to higher densities and who is choosing to stay behind. All souls go at their own pace and make their choices. We are not here to judge, but rather to invite you to board the train of further wisdom and purification. Join us on a journey into the light. Spread your wings and fly. Envision a new world and embark on its creation. When you are in co-creation with the Great Spirit, you can create the unexpected and the unbelievable. You can create miracles with your mind and intentions. Keep practicing, my loved ones. We are with you on your journey back into the light. Call on us. We hear you. Open your minds, eyes, and hearts, and in return, you shall hear us. We leave you in the loving light of the Creator, and so it is. Thank you, Yeshua and Mary. For me, this channeling is ultimately about the concept of our free will, to choose good or evil, and how this is passed down through the ages. Zarathustra taught how important free will is, and this idea seeped into the Persian poets that were inspired by him. Before I knew anything about this, it's interesting to note that I put a quote from the Persian poet Omar Khayyam on our wedding invitations. This poet was also a mathematician, a scientist, astronomer, historian, and invented the solar or the Jalali calendar, which is more accurate than the current Gregorian calendar that was put in place by Pope Gregory. It is interesting that Mary instructs us to spread our wings in this channeling, because the main symbol for Zoroastrianism is two outstretched wings. This symbol is also used in ancient Egypt. Khayyam seemed to be a little annoyed with the dogmatic religion of his day, as most of the Sunni doctrines or fundamentalist sects denied the existence of free will. In an article I found entitled "The Continuity of Zoroastrian Thought in Iran as Evident in the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam," it states that Khayyam asks how there can be a judgment day if nobody is responsible for their own actions. I love the lines from one of his poems that reads, "A hawk I was, and flew whence mystery resides, that I might soar to great heights upon the hillsides. But I found few in whom to confide. Thus I returned by the same portal I arrived." To me, it feels like Omar felt alone with the fallen state of consciousness of those around him and wanted to return back to the spirit realm, and I'm sure some of us can relate. The poet Rumi also spoke of the importance of free will when he writes, "Since you are not ill, don't bandage your head. You have free will. Don't make a fool of yourself. Endeavor to gain freshness and spiritual grace from God's cup of love." The saying of the servant, "Whatever God's will come to pass, does not signify, be lazy and inactive in the matter." The interpretation that makes you ardent, active, hopeful, and reverent is the true one. So this brings me back to the concept of co-creating with God. In my opinion, it is a combination of God's will and our own free will that we create our path with. The next thing I looked up was the word magi. It does indeed come from the old Persian word magus. The Persian term may have led to the old Semitic word mage or shaman. In Hebrew, the word was magosh. In Aramaic, amgusha meant magician, and Chaldeans used the word magdim, which translated to wisdom and philosophy. The word magi refers to the ancient class of Zoroastrian astrologer priests and may translate to the powerful. In Herodotus' writings, the tribe of Medes was said to be able to interpret dreams. The Magi were from this tribe and practiced Zoroastrianism. According to Matthew, these Magi used their skills in astronomy to follow a star, leading them to the Christed child. These Persian Magi attempted to understand the relationship of the powers of the universe in relation to humans. So in this channeling, Yeshua explains that the fallen ones also understand this same magic. I believe that magic is a neutral force and can be used for good or ill depending on the intentions of the person wielding it. It's funny because a video by Eric77 popped up on my feed again, and he was talking about how the Jesuits are some of the biggest proponents of black magic. I think what Yeshua is saying here is that if we're unaware of this and we're ignorant of our own power or our own divine magic within, it's easy to be manipulated by those who do have knowledge of it and can use it against us. Rudolf Steiner has a long but excellent lecture on how these secret societies, Leninism, and Jesuitism is behind the power of decline in our current day civilization, which was written many decades ago, but we can see this happening now. I'll post a link to this lecture in the comments. He talks about how these institutions are behind the push to take away the free will of humanity through certain political viewpoints and philosophies and limitless authority over others. He explains this movement wishes to impose a tyranny far worse than anything yet seen and has a propaganda campaign against the spiritual sciences. He says that these societies have spiritual initiation knowledge, but it is not for the benefit of humankind. What I think Yeshua might be saying is that we need to up the ante, so to speak, and learn the genuine spiritual knowledge so that we become the powerful force of good that can change the trajectory of humanity for the better. An awareness of spiritual wisdom and initiation and the divine powerful magic within is what is needed to prevent humanity from going into total decline. Thanks for listening today, and I'm sending you all love, freedom, and discernment. Until next week, please support this channel and press like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you resonate with my work. Have a great week.